Hi Year 12s, we are back. Chapter 22a we're doing today, line segment graphs. Copy down the notes please, and then I'll talk about it and explain it. Alrighty, so linear graphs can be, pretty much they're worded problems, and there's a whole series of linear graphs inside the one graph. So they're called line segment graphs, because each segment is a straight line. So here, in this graph, we have two segments. There's our first one, and there's our second one. So they're called line segment graphs because they're made up of different line segments, so it's pretty easy. A very common one is a distance time graph. So time is generally on the x-axis. So as we go along, time goes on as we go along the x-axis. And something interesting to note is that the gradient or the steepness of each line of a distance time graph represents the gradient. The gradient represents the speed of that section. So if that's the gradient there, that's going at a reasonable speed. So something to note is that when it's horizontal, the gradient here in this section is 0, which means the speed is 0, so it's stationary. So the object is moving in this section, and then here it just stops. And then if I made another section and made it really steep, that would mean it's actually travelling faster here. The speed is greater because it's got a greater gradient, see there, than this section. Alright, so I said there the gradient's of speed, and so I've talked about that. Alrighty. So pretty much a lot of it's common sense, but we're going to do an example right here. So, where was the car? So, first thing we have to do is look at the graph and try to interpret it. So this is the distance, and there's 3 points in this car journey. So we start off at point A, we drive to point B at a certain speed. So the speed's given by the gradient of that section. Then from B, we have a rest. And you can see there, because the gradient's 0, so that means that the speed's 0. So it's just having a rest for whatever that time period is. And then from this point on up to C, that's our second journey where we start driving, and the gradient tells us the speed of that one as well. We get to our destination C. And across here is the time. Interesting to note the units. There's 8 a.m. and there's 9 a.m. So that's 1 hour. And you notice there's 3 sections. There's 3 divisions inside that. So if you think about it's a third of an hour, each little section, which is 20 minutes. So a third of 60 is 20 minutes. So that's 20 minutes, 40 minutes, 60 minutes, or 1 hour. Okay, that's important in a few minutes. Alright, and I should have put here the time is in hours. And notice the units, distance is in kilometres. Alright, so now that we understand the gist of this example, where was the car at 9 a.m.? So, at 9 a.m, there's 8 a.m, it was at point A. At 9 a.m, we go up, and it's at point B. So we can answer it. It's at point B, which is 80 kilometres. So we'll be specific, 80 kilometres from point A. Can you see that? It's 80 kilometres away, because it's 80 kilometres from point A. And at 9:30, now, be careful here. There's 9 and there's 10. 9:30 is right in between those two. So 9:30 is there, but it doesn't really matter. That's in our break. So where are we at the break? We're still at the same point. We're still at point B, which is 80 kilometres from A. So at both of those times we're at the same point. Alright, now average speed between A and B. Remember the average speed, there's a formula for that. Speed is equal to distance over time. Hopefully you've learnt that in previous years. And it's also the gradient of that line. So if you have a look here, the distance travelled between A and B, the distance travelled is 80 kilometres. So I'll write 80 kilometres. Over 8 to 9 is 1 hour. So 80 over 1, which is 80. So the average speed, and make sure to put units, is kilometres per hour. So it's 80 kilometres per hour. Okay, now the next one's a little bit tricky. It says between B and C. So some of you might say, oh, okay, let's work it out from here to there, B to C. But if you think about it, we're at point B here, and we actually rest there for this amount of time. Here, we're still at point B. So the question's actually saying what's the average speed from here just in the car. So we go from this point up to there. So remember it's just a gradient. So it goes from 80 to 160, which is 80. And the time across here, it's 1, 2, 3, 4 sections. So if you can say 80 minutes, but they want the speed in kilometres per hour. Okay, so let's write it. So speed equals distance over time. So the distance is 80, and the time is 4/3 of an hour. Because remember, 1 hour is 3/3. So as a fraction, you've got 4/3. So you divide that by 4/3, and put that into your calculator. If you remember from year 7, you can change that to a multiplier and flip the fraction, and round it off at 60 kilometres per hour. Alright. So moving along, it says how long does it stop at point B? So how long will we rest in at point B? So it's from 9 o'clock to 2 increments along. Remember they're 20 minutes each, so that's 40 minutes. So you can say it's 40 minutes or 2/3 of an hour. So if it's said in hours, it's 2/3 of an hour. Next one, how long did the whole journey take? So we started off at 8 a.m, so that includes the break as well. So 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. is 3 hours, 1, 2, 3. So we write 3 hours. And the last one, what was the average speed for the whole journey? So sometimes people go, oh okay, we worked out the speed of the first section and the second section, they average those out. But that's not correct. It says for the whole journey. So that includes this resting time. So what we're trying to do is find the gradient from A to C. So the speed, and the average speed is distance over time. So it's the whole distance over the whole time. So the whole distance we travelled was 160 kilometres. And the whole amount of time was 3 hours. Now if you put that into your calculator, you'll get the right answer. I don't have one on me right now, but let's work it out. So it's 50 something. So you put that into your calculator and you'll get whatever it is. So it's just over 50. It might be 52 or 53 kilometres per hour. So be careful, use accuracy, not like I've done, use your calculator. Make sure to round off to the required number of decimal places that it says in the question. And that is it. So please have a go of 22A. By the way, there are 3 chapters in this topic. So there's 22 and then there's 23 as well. So good one. I'll see you next time, guys. Bye.